Welcome back, everyone. It is so easy sometimes to complain about what is going wrong in our lives, but if we can just turn those negative thoughts into thoughts of gratitude or delight, it can be life-changing.
Absolutely. Gail Nelson with Journey Counseling is here to help us recognize happiness. I think the first place to start, Gail, first off, thanks for being here, is why is it so hard just to be happy?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is one psychologist that talks about the ants in our brain, the automatic negative thoughts, and it's just like an anthill. They just run around up there, and automatically
But
we
what
have
is it
that.
about humans that are programmed that way? That's what I'm getting at. Like, why is it just sort of the default to be like, oh, that stinks, or that's not good, or I'm not good, or...
Right. Well, I think maybe evolutionary over time, and you'd have to check with a real evolutionist to make sure this is true.
You're that today.
I know, okay, I'll play one on TV. that the brain is really set up to warn you. It just, it'll send out cortisol, it'll send out stress hormones. The brain is set up to warn you, and it does that a lot. Oh, watch out there, don't do that, oh, what about that? Remember that, don't do that again. So it's really set, which really is causing us a lot of problems, because over time, people are ending up getting more anxious, they're getting depressed. We just don't really know how to run our head very well.
But if we do learn to control it, it helps with healing and all sorts of positive effects, right?
You're seeing it come up, aren't you, in all the mindfulness research and the evidence base where people can be trained, we can be taught, we can be reminded, we can be coached to try to pull those more enlightening kinds of thoughts, positive thoughts into our head.
How do we turn our brain around to do that? Like, we have to make a conscious effort,
I
don't
think
we?
so. Well, and I have a new bumper sticker, and it's most things work beautifully most of the time. So what if you just tried a little bit more to think of the things that are working instead of the things that aren't? So even I play this game with people, like when they're coming in to my office and they're depressed, and certainly there are lots of reasons why we are grieving and depressed and lost, and our lives can be very difficult. But even I'll just ask them sometimes simple questions like, well, how did you get here today? Well, I drove my car, or I rode my bike. And I'm like, well, good, that worked. But we sometimes don't take stock of the things that are working. So maybe that's the invitation today, to delight in the things that are working. Tomorrow's summer, the grass is green, the trees are leafing out, the peonies are up, the sky is blue. We just don't notice.
Let me ask you this, and I have no research or anything to back this up, but how much of it might be, when you look at society today, just due to media and covetousness? I mean, every ad is, you should be buying this, and if you don't, you're a loser.
And the images of how women look, and you're supposed to look that perfect and that put together.
Right. Well, it is, I think, a factor of maybe what we have done to ourselves through what we look at all the time and what we see. I was just listening to a lecture, and they talked about in the days before food was so plentiful, we didn't have a lot of the disease problems that we have now. We didn't have so much diabetes. We didn't have the overweight problem that we have now. But now food is so gorgeous and so really inexpensive and so plentiful, and we have refrigerators full of it and cupboards full of it and grocery stores that are just museums to production and distribution. It's a beautiful thing, and yet that's the thing we end up doing too much of. So we've done it to ourselves. It's a hard thing. Now we have to turn it around and learn some of those smaller micro skills like delight.
Okay, so how do we
remind them?
Go ahead. I think one of the things too I see is that there's such a strong desire in humans to connect with people. And so let's say, for example, because I think most often the default for humans is, that's not very good, or the weather stinks. But if you're that dude that walks in and you're like, hey, what's up? Life's amazing. Ah! People are like, man, what are you on?
Yeah,
right?
what's
And so it's
going on?
hard to connect with people if you're truly exuberant and happy.
Right.
Yeah?
Well, maybe it's our part of the country that we're just so reticent and so standoffish, but let's play with it. Let's just have some more fun with that. I don't know why either that we rebel at some of that. Maybe it is a little more work if we're so used to just being negative. We got to turn it around. It's a big ship to turn around.
And we're going to try to do that when we come back. Much more with Gail Nelson after this.